Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here. It is Mixed Martial Mindset. However, it is Labor Day, and Fitch might not be here. I'm not sure if he's going to join us, but if he does, we will gladly join him in his quest to smash the universe. By the way, John Fitch Knows Nothing. John Fitch breaking down fights as well as other issues. And there was quite a night of fights via the UFC, really a day of fights, depending on where you were, over the weekend. Really fun stuff. We're going to be talking transhumanism, and the first thing I want to do is play this clip of Kushner talking about, and by the way, an aide has said this is now tongue-in-cheek. It's not tongue-in-cheek, folks. It's not tongue-in-cheek even a little bit. About how he believes his generation is going to be the one that lives forever, or the last one to actually die. Now, I just want everybody to understand, at Kushner's level, where you're hobnobbing with billionaires and generational wealth and power players, that's what transhumanism really is about. It is about the technology to biomedically, all right, achieve the actual fountain of youth, be at optimal health, and never age. Now, transhumanism for us is no longer having a family, transmutating into a species in which we no longer procreate, being involved in hive mind-like slavery via human brain interfaces, central bank digital currencies, carbon allotments, and social credit scores. That's what that means for us, okay? And I think that that's what people have to understand. They sell you on this idea that somehow all this technology is going to empower the rest of us. Meanwhile, they're pushing an agenda which dehumanizes us on a massive level, where they won't allow us access to, for instance, medicines that work. Never seen that before in society. So we're going to start here. We're going to play the Kush. He's going to tell us how basically he believes that his generation is going to be immortal.
Friend. And then finally, I think that from the last year, the one thing I've tried to put a priority on since I left the White House was getting some exercise in. I think that there's a good probability that my generation is, hopefully with the advances in science, either the first generation to live forever or the last generation that's going to die. And so we need to keep ourselves in pretty good shape. And then the other thing I like.
So again, the first generation that's going to live forever or the last generation that's going to die. They believe in this type of immortality, okay? When I say they, I mean the predator class at the top. You have to understand, Kush, he goes to Bilderberg Group meetings, man. He talks to people like Peter Thiel, who are heavily invested in this type of stuff. Now, I have some clips just to get people to understand that the transgender movement is a big push for this transhumanism. In fact, I was supposed to host the 4th hour of Jones. They contacted me. I guess Jones was just so fired up during the day, he ended up doing the 4th hour himself, where I was going to present Martine Rothblatt, okay? This person right here behind me has a lot of power, guys, has billions of dollars, is part of the Human Genome Project, has a lot of money behind this LGBTQ plus AI LMNOPO movement, all right? And the first thing they do when they talk to Martine Rothblatt at this Transformers conference, because again, it's about transforming you, the slave class, into a virtual sphere where you no longer even physically exist. You run on servers because you've died a long time ago and been tricked into that round of transhumanism, into the virtual age where you're going to upload your consciousness, where you're going to merge with machines. See, that's the transhumanism they're going to sell us. And this person literally wrote the book. It's not like I don't know what to say to people that haven't understood it yet, but here it is. Here's From Transgender to Transhuman, a manifesto on the freedom of form. Because as I have been screaming at you people, that's what this is about. You can become anything. And in the virtual sphere, in the metaverse, okay, that has partnered with the World Economic Forum, you can be that person. And that's what they're going to trick the vast majority of us. And then on the other end of that, Calico, Kurzweil's immortality division for Google, he runs it, the transhumanist himself, Mr. Singularity, all right, they're developing the technology, again, where human beings will be able to extend their lives physically. They're not uploading their consciousness. But what I thought was so interesting about, you know, if you watch the full watch along, we watched like an hour and 20 minutes of this stuff. We just didn't watch panel 3. I'm just going to show the first couple of exchanges. Now, this is the person that founded, what was it? It was SiriusXM, but also, again, on the transhumanist front, is growing organs in a program now called xenotransplantation. Here it is right here. This is the FDA. The speech we're going to show you is from 2016. This is from March of 2021. And essentially, you genetically modify pigs for, you know, kidneys and hearts and pancreases, and then you have them on demand for human recipients. All right? And do you think that the normal average citizen making $40, $80, $100, $200,000 a year is even going to have access to this? It's a joke. It's a bad joke on us. I'm sorry. We're going to get back to that. Had to bring that into the mix. So let's play Rothblatt here. All right. Talking. And by the way, the first thing that they talk about is the bathroom controversy back in the day. Now, this person might get arrested for going to the wrong bathroom.
Is also the recipient of this year's Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative Award, which is devoted to LBGT issues, and puts her in an interesting issue because she has a company, or part of the company is based in North Carolina, which, as you know right now, she might get arrested for going to the bathroom if the governor had anything to do about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Martine Rothblatt.
Now later on they circle back to that issue, but again I want to exemplify how they haven't even put like the next letter on it at this point, the plus, which is zeros and ones, which again is about transforming you. Rothblatt's written 2 more books on the subject of transhumanism, and now is openly going to discuss transhumanism and even how you know, what you do when you're into this stuff, other than being into printing organs and the genomic project and transgender issues, is you start your own religion. Yeah.
Martine, one of the basic concepts that you're interested in, it's not just improving life, but it's actually immortality, that we're all going to live forever. And Martine, I might mention, has founded a religion, as one does, known as Terrasim. It's based on transhumanism. And you have the idea that we're not just going to live a long time, but we're all going to live forever. Tell us your concept of immortality and how that actually would work.
Thanks, Neely. It's a great pleasure to be here. The idea is one that has been percolating up from lots of people in the information technology industry for a while. Perhaps Ray Kurzweil, who is a prolific inventor, is best known for the idea.
He is best known. And again, this is the Kurzweilian ideology. Now, what Rothblatt is here to sell you on is the digital identity and that progression of transhumanism where AI and AI programmed devices get rights, right? So really the digital copy of you is run on an algorithm from constant surveillance that you adhere to, and that you don't really upload your consciousness, but there's going to be this digital duplicate that has all these rights, kind of like a pet. Because again, they still have to sell it to you that this thing will never have the same rights as you. But it goes well beyond that. Here we go.
that as our abilities in the information processing industry, computer software, storage of more and more of our thoughts and our ideas outside of our body becomes easier, more automatic, less expensive, that ultimately we're going to have sort of digital doppelgangers of ourselves that are stored in the cloud and are able to present themselves to any manner of devices. And that as thousands and thousands of software coders and hackers and people in the maker movement work to make the software that runs these digital doppelgangers ever more lifelike, ever more human-like, there'll come sort of a tipping point when people begin to claim that these digital doppelgangers have achieved what we call consciousness.
And again, another huge lie of the transhumanist movement, right? For them, it's not really about uploading your consciousness to the machines, but tricking the populace into thinking that's even possible. That's the reality, folks. I want people to really grasp that, right? That machines are programmable. We don't know what consciousness, a soul, a spirit, what makes us work. They have never isolated that. They have never created that type of life out of nothing, right? Like they tell us has happened, and it has to happen through some kind of biochemical reaction that never had life in the first place. It's never really been explained. But again, these are social Darwinists, and they want to trick you into believing, again, that this is going to be achieved, and then lawyers will decide, society will decide, and eventually, we'll take your digital self and put it into a doppelganger.
An ability to have a sense of themselves, hopes, fears, and feelings. And at that point, I think the activity will move to the legal arena as to whether or not these digital doppelgangers really are conscious, really do have an independent legal identity. And kind of the trend of progressive thinking is once there's a scientific consensus, and in this case it would be the science of psychology, that being the science of the mind.
Now think about that alone. No, science isn't corrupted, especially the authoritative scientific sources. And especially when we've had such success with SSRIs and the psychological field, science of the mind. So once you have that consensus and the lawyer's consensus, we'll be able to roll this right in.
That these digital doppelgangers are in fact cyber-conscious. Then they'll begin to acquire the sorts of rights and protections that we assign to even our pets, laboratory animals, and to quite a high extent to primates like chimpanzees. And so in this way, ourselves will kind of morph into a sort of digital consciousness that is recognized by the law.
It's going to be recognized by the law, this digital consciousness. Now, the next segment of this, Rothblatt talks about creating this AI. Remember, this is 2016. That's better than Siri. That's based on the wife of this individual, because they have kids together. I'm not sure how long Rothblatt has been transgender, how far it's gone. But again, this is about removing the human part from you and saying that you can become anything else, and then giving rights to basically the track trace database version of you that's not biological, that's not your consciousness, that's not your soul. I promise you that. And all while like patting your head and it's all right, everything's okay. They'll just be like pets. They'll just be like pets. Multiple layers of deception in all of this. In fact, later on, he asks Rothblatt about the eugenics aspect and the evil Hitler robot, and it's largely dismissed. But it's more nuanced than that.
The Kitty Hawk type of project on this, Bina 48, named for your lovely spouse, which I have talked to, and as many others. It's sort of a head on a table at this point, but it talks to you. And you've described it. This isn't the finished product of where we want to go. But Bina 48 is the Kitty Hawk basis of how this, you call them doppelgangers. Can you say robots?
Yeah, robots are just as good.
Robots are just as good. And remember, Bushnell, chief scientist at NASA, says that productivity improvement is really a code word for the ever more automation and robotization of everything. Of everything. And eventually there's just nowhere to go, and that we merge with the machines, it becomes the virtual age. There is no choice. Oh, yeah, you can call them robots. Yeah.
And if you put in, I kind of have the idea like, the Matrix, where they were plugging stuff into the back of people's head. I have the idea that you upload everybody's personality or consciousness onto what amounts to a thumb drive. And then you can upload it to the cloud, so you're always there. And you can just plug it into a robot, and there you are.
Right, but it's becoming even, that's Bina 48 in the screen, and that was from a recent episode of Morgan Freeman's series on the National Geographic Channel about the nature of God and religion and whatnot. So we did this project to really inspire young people, and I'd say young girls in particular, to become coders. And when they have an opportunity to speak with Bina 48 and see that even today in our somewhat primitive 20 teens, we're able to write software that can respond idiosyncratically. She doesn't give the same answer any 2 times, and there's no pre-scripted questions. You can ask her anything.
And by the way, United Therapeutics Corporation. So this person is involved in the biomedical field already, billionaire, huge power, all right, wants to indoctrinate children into becoming coders of AI while running a religion. Huh.
I'd say she's way better than Siri.
Cuter.
I'd say Amazon's Alexa is just about catching up to her, and I'm sure because there's thousands of people working on Alexa, she'll soar right past Bina 48. But this type of software inspires young people to become coders, and it's why I'm so confident that cyber consciousness will emerge, because it's not just our foundation or a couple big companies working on this. There are tens of thousands of people throughout the whole world who can make cyber consciousness. They don't need a factory to make it. They don't need a lot of investment to make it. All they need is any kind of digital device to talk to the cloud.
So there you go. It talks about this group effort, and it talks about the technology. Just want to throw that out there. So again, we started with Kushner, and remember, that class of people is going to be using transhumanism to what? Try to achieve a state where they remain in their physical body that doesn't degrade, right? That doesn't get disease, and that can use devices to interact with essentially the rest of the smart grid they set up of our enslavement system through human brain interfaces that are implantable to bio-nanotechnology that is actually injectable. All real. It's in their documents. Look at that RAND document, right? Meanwhile, they sell you on this idea. There was another gentleman who was talking about immortality, Jose de whatever. I just downloaded it. They sell you on this idea of economic growth. It's going to keep going up. Well, it looks like some populations are going down, but we're going to live forever. You're going to live forever under the World Economic Forum. They always tell you that you're going to get this technology. No, that's not what they plan. And he also talks, this Jose guy talks about how we're going to by, I think it's 2050, right? The 2050 plan is we're going to have bases on the moon and Mars. We're going to have bases on you hear that, everybody? We're going to have bases on the moon and Mars. Well, I got news for people. We talked about it here. But Artemis, the next launch attempt, was canceled. Now they found a fuel leak. So rocket technology can't take a bunch of dummies and snoopies to the moon on time last week, but, we've progressed that technology so much from the Apollo missions. And by the way, I'm going to be doing a whole video on that. Okay, we're going to do a whole video on Apollo Remastered coming out and them changing atmospheres. They're saying, oh, no, the moon's part of our atmosphere now. And now blood shows signs of DNA mutations due to space flight. and they must be monitored for cancer risk. New study reveals. Really? Didn't know that before. We've had that program for a very long time. So, I did Derek Brose's show today. And people might have noticed I didn't put up a video yesterday. And one of the reasons is because I'm going to work on this little mini documentary about something that I don't think the vast majority of people would see coming from me. Has anybody out there seen the movie Nope? Rather popular, right? Now, I watched the movie, and quite frankly, after the first viewing, I didn't feel impressed. I was like, there were some moments, I think there's a lot of hype around it, but it had this feeling that just kept, gnawing at me, and that I had missed something, and that it actually reminded me of the first time that I saw The Shining, which, if anybody knows, the interpretations of The Shining go all over the place. Many people have analyzed and reanalyzed it. There's the movie Room 237 that I think got an Academy Award nod if it didn't win that year for Best Documentary Film, right? And so I watched all these movies about interpretations, and I said, you know what? There's still something not there. And while I was watching that, I saw this sub-division, kind of like this little parody thing that had been put out aside from the movie about the Gordy's home character, which is an integral part of the movie. This movie is full of metaphors for things, hidden symbolism, and really what I think is the hidden meaning of the movie. Are you ready, guys? The hidden meaning of Nope, you're hearing it here first. We're going to do a full video on it, is, and Peele has talked about how it's a lot like the Hollywood industry. And, again, it's a metaphor for being chewed up and spit out and people's aspirations for fame. And there's a lot in this movie, right? A lot. But really, the hidden meaning of the film is that our perceptions about what space travel, NASA, and even aliens are is largely Hollywood fiction. And you're like, Bermas, what in the world are you talking about? You have this NASA fixation, and you're just making that up. Rewatch Nope, everybody, and rewatch it now with the idea that the Hollywood family is actually a family of astronauts. And when you see this, it makes it a little clearer. And then go look at the hints, by the way, the secret room that has all the astronaut and Hollywood stuff in it. Later, we got a lot of stuff in there. He put a lot of things in there. In fact, I believe that this is his Shining. And I've went back and now I've watched some interviews, and obviously Kubrick's a huge influence. The Shining is a huge influence, but also 2001: A Space Odyssey, in which the vast majority of people's perceptions of what the space program actually is and what space is comes from. It's pre-Apollo, right? It's the vision that's really Hollywood has bitten from again and again and again. So what we're going to watch, okay, is this Gordy's home introduction. And immediately, I think a lot of people are going to get it. The Houstons. Remember,
watching your moves, they look so radical. Hearing your words, they sound fantastic.
she's in the astronaut outfit. Remember, Houston.
Reveals you're magical. How can I get enough? You're a strange animal.
A lot of colors in this movie that are used. Jupe, and by the way, that's for Jupiter. His nickname's Jupiter, and Jupiter's claim is the ranch. There's a lot of stuff in here. A lot of stuff, by the way.
But you're a strange animal. I got to follow. Oh, I'm in the speedy.
And he's watching what? He's reading Nova Quarterly. Again, everything is space-based, and it's all Hollywood-based. And by the way, that's a nod to the film if you've seen it right there. Like all of a sudden, the boy is startled underneath the table. And there it is. They're looking up to the stars. Now, I got a lot more than just this. to represent how, again, our perceptions. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert right now, okay? Spoiler alert right now. The UFO is not a UFO in the sense that it's a spacecraft. In fact, I don't think it's an alien. A lot of people out there think that NOPE stands for not of planet Earth. Really? Everything was very earthly in this. It seemed like a natural predator. And the theme is basically that what we've been told by the media and the government about UFOs, aliens, and space travel is largely Hollywood propaganda. We're going to do a whole little mini documentary on it, okay? So buckle up. I think that's going to do it for Mixed Martial Mindset. We didn't have John Fitch here. I've got other videos planned. I'm going to try to put a couple other ones out, but hopefully this was a fun one for everybody. If you've seen Nope, please go give it a rewatch now. In fact, the very opening scene where they have Universal Studios and it's a draw out shot of planet Earth like it often is. Listen in the background of what they say and the first time they say nope and what it's in regards to. All right, this is his Kubrick swan song. I'm telling you that. By the way, if you haven't seen Kubrick's Odyssey, if you haven't seen Room 237, right? If you haven't seen The Shining in a while, go check that out. If you haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey and Rob Ager's work, Collative Learning, they do great jobs, great breakdowns of this stuff that I'm a big fan of. If you want some more hardcore documentaries, well, I've made them, and I want to share them with you. Okay, you can see them right here on YouTube in the playlist section. People always ask me. It's Shade the Motion Picture, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and, of course, Loose Change, Final Cut. You can buy me a coffee. That's how you support the broadcast, $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. It's how we do this. Big donors, couldn't do it without you. I want to remind everybody, we're over at Odyssey. That's backed up my YouTube channel. We get banned on YouTube a lot. That's why we're also rumbling. And we got the Rockfin going as well. 62,000 strong, $9.99 a month or $99.99 for the year. If you hit that subscribe button, you endorse Jason Bermas. You also get everybody else's stuff. Folks, it's not about left or right. It's always about right and wrong. I couldn't do it without the Bermas Brigade. So thank you for joining me. I love you guys, and we will see you on the flip side.